others just treat you like absolute scum, yeah. One thing I saw, Mitch
the head guy
the
ran
governor
out
of
the
Indiana,
bushes.
and he's endorsed Romney, and there's been speculation that Mitch Daniels could be Romney's VP, so, because we had Edwards groomed back in 2004, so could Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels be Romney's running mate, having been groomed by Bilderberg, because he's right there in attendance now, according to the official list.
I see something that's incredibly beautiful right here. It's my fellow Americans and my fellow humans of every race, color, creed, religion, united in liberty. Yeah! Freedom! The answer to 1984 is 1776. Yeah! The New World Order's going down. They're running scared. They know humanity is waking up to them and identifying the globalists. And the beginning of the sleeping giant awakening has begun. We will restore our republic. We will restore the United States as a beacon of liberty and truth, not a dark mountain of evil projecting corruption worldwide. The Bilderberg criminals think that they run this country. They think they run our Congress. They are the enemy, and they are criminal scum. Folks, we're broadcasting live on the radio right now. I want to hear everybody right now. The answer to 1984 is 1776. The answer to 1984 is 1776 worldwide. We are live, broadcasting worldwide to millions of freedom lovers on a planetary scale. I salute everyone that's here today and everyone taking action and everyone forcing the Bilderberg crime meeting out into the open. I salute everyone who wants to be free. Yeah! All right, we got Paul Watson and Rob Dew in studio. I'm going to throw it to them for about 20 minutes, and I'll be back with some reports. And I'm going to try to, I know Webster Tarpley's in the house. We could drag him on air for a little while and talk to Burmis and a bunch of other people that are here. A lot of great folks here. It's amazing. Back to Paul Watson.
It's Alex Jones live in Chantilly, Bilderberg 2012. We're just going through the member list and some of the ramifications of that. I believe we got Rob Dew back in the studio. Rob, are you there? Don't have Rob Dew yet. Rob Dew will be coming in shortly, but I'm going through the list again. And as I said a while ago, Mitch Daniels, the governor of Indiana, of course, we had all this speculation about Marco Rubio being the potential VP pick for Mitt Romney. This stemmed from a Washington Post article written by veteran 30-year columnist Al Kamen, in which he referenced John Edwards' 2004 attendance at the Bilderberg meeting in Stresa, Italy, where he gave a impressive, to the Bilderberg members, foreign policy speech. And even as the campaign vehicles were all being labelled with Kerry Gephardt stickers, they in fact changed it at the last minute after Edwards' Bilderberg performance, and Edwards became the VP pick. Again, in 2008, James A. Johnson, who is there right now in Chantilly attending once again, he selected Barack Obama's running mate. And of course, back in 2004, John Edwards ran with John Kerry, who again is in attendance today. So there was speculation about Rubio being the potential VP, but we've actually got Mitch Daniels in attendance, the governor of Indiana. There was a story out of the Ticket from a few days ago. Mitch Daniels dismisses Romney Veep talk. It won't happen. Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, who offered a tepid endorsement of Mitt Romney only after the Republican primaries, pushed back hard against the idea that he'll be chosen as Romney's running mate. And basically, they've all said that. Rubio's said it. A number of the other potential VP candidates have said it. But it's just interesting that Mitch Daniels is at Bilderberg because they have a history of having a hidden hand influence in the US presidential election. So we'll wait to see what develops from that. Of course, Rubio's already attended numerous foreign policy speeches in the weeks leading up to Bilderberg. So we'll see what becomes of that. Again, we've got the full official attendee list on prisonplanet.com. We've also got sneering MSNBC anchor, "I'm way too lazy to research Bilderberg." And this is a confrontation by Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change, in which he talks to Lawrence O'Donnell, MSNBC host. And it's just amazing to see the sneering arrogance of O'Donnell. He doesn't even know what Bilderberg is. When Luke tells him, he says, "Oh, that can't have any importance because I don't know what it is." Because like he's so high and mighty that anything that doesn't enter his consciousness just doesn't exist. And basically Luke schools him on it, and O'Donnell just proves how pathetically ignorant he is, just like the rest of the mainstream media, in not only failing to cover Bilderberg, but not even knowing what the organization is. So again, it goes back to the fact that the Washington Post publisher is in the meeting. It's a meeting of 120 global power brokers, most influential people on the planet. You know, Eric Schmidt, Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Airbus, HSBC, Barclays, all of them, along with US politicians. And not a peep. One Washington Times story broke the US media blockade, and basically nothing else. The Huffington Post done a story on it. But when you're talking about, you know, the alphabet agency, news agencies, ABC and MSNBC, absolutely nothing. And it's pathetic. We're going to go to break soon, and we're going to come back with more breaking Bilderberg news and also go back to Alex at Ground Zero.
For more than 6 years, I've talked on the air about creating a social network. PlanetInfoWars.com is in its beta phase. We're just launching it. And I want to invite all of you out there to be in on the ground level. Planet InfoWars is about people coming together, forming activist organizations, getting involved politically, hunting and fishing, gardening, dating. This is a place for people who love freedom to meet and to talk and to write and to post information. And I give you this pledge. We are not going to spy on you and sell your data to the New World Order. PlanetInfoWars.com is free, so people who love freedom can get together, connect with people who are awake and know what we're facing. Be active, organize, take action, go viral, create, contribute, resist, because resistance is victory. You are victory. It's waiting for you to breathe power into it. PlanetInfoWars.com.
It's Bilderberg 2012. It's the Alex Jones Show at Infowars.com, and you can watch the live Ustream right there on the front page at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We're just talking about some of the attendees. Obviously, we've got the full official attendee list for Bilderberg 2012. And on there appears a certain Mitch Daniels, governor of Indiana. He's been mooted as a potential VP for Mitt Romney, and he's there meeting at Bilderberg 2012. Bilderberg has a history of grooming vice presidential candidates. And now we're going to talk to Rob Dew, who's got some more information on Mitch Daniels, governor of Indiana. Rob, go ahead.
That's right, Paul. Thanks a lot. And I just want to say it's a beautiful scene out there with all those people. I wish I could be there, but I'm happy to be right here. There's Burmis right there. Anyway, 87 to 90, Mitch Daniels led the right-wing think tank Hudson Institute, which was funded by pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly and Company. And then he left Hudson for an executive position at Eli Lilly, where he rose to the position of senior vice president for corporate strategy before leaving in 2001, here's the revolving door, to head George W. Bush's Office of Management and Budget. Okay, so here we have a guy who's very unimposing looking. He looks like a second-tier guy. He looks like vice president material. He kind of reminds you of Dan Quayle, who comes from the same state. And, you know, he's real small, kind of has a comb over, very unimposing. But you know what? He's going to sneak up behind you and shoot you up with some thimerosal, because if you don't remember, one of the companies that developed thimerosal was Eli Lilly. So there we go. You can expect more vaccines if for more problems if you have Mitch Daniels getting in as the vice president. I also noticed some other people on here, some media people that need to be questioned. Peggy Noonan, author and columnist of the Wall Street Journal. Okay, and also Charlie Rose. Okay, he does all those interviews, really nice, in dark lights, talking to all those people about so many problems that they have to face every year. You know, he's going to be there. So I wonder if he will answer questions about Bilderberg. I wonder if he'll even mention that it exists. We've had Luke Rudowski. I guess We Are Change is issuing one confrontation an hour off their Facebook site, and then they're going to put it on their YouTube site. So they're going to be sending out all kinds of stuff. It's really good to see these people pop in. Here's the list over here if you want to pop in on that. Richard Pearl. That's another one. He's now left his government post, and he's resident fellow of the American Enterprise Institute. I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's see. Vernon Jordan, who I think Bill Clinton even admitted that Vernon Jordan invited him to Bilderberg, but of course they didn't talk about NAFTA or anything like that. Let's see. Who else is on this list that's interesting? I just think it's definitely a who's who of the power brokers, and then every once in a while you see a media guy thrown in. Paul, what's your take on some of these media people? There's someone here, a journalist from LA7 TV in Italy, Lily Gruber.
Yeah, it's not just U.S. media, is it? In fact, well, you've got the Wall Street Journal represented, you've got Washington Post, but then you've got a smattering of foreign media. As you said, LA7 TV, Italy, you've got Le Monde out of France. So, I mean, they're just as complicit. Of course, Bilderberg mainly takes place in Europe. It only visits North America, you know, once every 4 years probably. So a lot of the European media are complicit in this. And again, so far, there's been very little. There's been a Daily Mail article, a Washington Times, a Huffington Post. Big debate in Canada because the two politicians there are having a back and forth.
Yeah, over $19,000, which is chump change to these people.
Well, exactly, because she's attending in a private capacity, but the taxpayers are paying for it. That's why people are getting up in arms about it. But I don't believe she's actually on the list, which, again, I mean, she put out a press release saying she would be there, and she's not on the list, although I've only scanned it briefly. So, again, there's more people who are there who aren't on the list.
That is true. Here's an interesting name. I'm looking up some information on him right now. Fred Krupp, president of the Environmental Defense Fund. That sounds like it's got Agenda 21 written all over it. I'm going to do some looking up on this guy and see what we can find out. Peter Mandelson of Great Britain, member of the House of Lords.
Mandy.
Yeah. What can you tell us about Mandelson?
Oh, Mandelson's routinely there. He's there every year.
Everybody can just sit down and relax.
He kind of pops back in and out of British politics. He gets whacked down by a new scandal and keeps popping back up, and he's always hanging out with Rothschild on their yachts in Monaco. So he's an integral member. And yeah, like you said, Fred Krupp, Environmental Defense Fund, which is a non-profit environmental advocacy group, which we know they're talking about that because that's why the Canadian premier is there to talk about, quote, ecological issues and sustainable development. Yeah, so they're talking about Agenda 21.
We'll come back to him, but I think we're going to go throw to Alex right now. Alex is on the scene in Chantilly 3.0 Bilderberg 2012. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just going to pop in and let you
It is Thursday, May 31st, 2012. Welcome to InfoWars Nightly News. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex Jones tonight. And here's what we have ahead for you on the show.
Tonight, Bilderberg Group openly now says that our military is run by the UN and NATO. They're openly announcing world government. They are the enemy of this country. And more we are identifying them. The answer to their 1984 system is 1776.
Full spectrum coverage from the secretive meeting that is Bilderberg 2012, as the elite's cloak of secrecy is unveiled in Chantilly, Virginia. Then, the Bilderberg list is revealed, with possible VP candidate and shill for the vaccine industry, Mitch Daniels, in attendance. Plus, Don Tolman, the whole food medicine cowboy, joins Mike Adams via video Skype. All that plus tonight's top headlines up next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Leading off with our top story tonight, Bilderberg 2012 and the Occupy Bilderberg movement. As you know, Alex Jones and the InfoWars crew is there in Virginia covering all of the breaking news surrounding Bilderberg. And we now have an official release of an attendee list. Now, that list has some real showstoppers, some eye-openers. They include, get this, Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, who is a former senior vice president for corporate strategy of the Eli Lilly company. Yes, indeed, one of the giants of the pharmaceutical industry. The very company pushing vaccines, psychiatric drugs for children, and all kinds of other drugs that claim to treat degenerative disease. Is it possible now, with Rubio not appearing on the attendee list at Bilderberg, is it possible that Governor Mitch Daniels is now being considered as the vice president candidate for Mitch Romney? If so, and if Romney were to be elected president, it would mean that the United States of America could have a vice president that has a high position, or previously did, in big pharma. Can you imagine the outcome of that? More vaccines for everyone. It's national policy. It's what the federal government wants. So more with the attendee list, by the way. Look at some of the names that have shown up in here. We've got the Prince Felipe of Belgium. We've got Mitchell Daniels. Oh, we just covered him. We've got Thomas Donnellan, the National Security Advisor of the White House. We've got executives from BP. And James Johnson, the vice chairman of Perseus. He is reportedly responsible for leading the selection teams that selected the previous vice presidents of the two previous administrations in the White House. So if he is indeed there looking at Governor Daniels, it could once again be more evidence that Daniels is being considered for the vice president situation. We've also got Vernon Jordan on the attendee list. Of course, John Kerry, Henry Kissinger. What would a Bilderberg meeting be without Mr. Kissinger there attending? And many others, Peggy Noonan and Charlie Rose, the journalists, of course, Eric Schmidt, executive of Google, and Martin Wolf. Many, many others. The names are, of course, quite intriguing, and you can find the full list on stories and links from Infowars.com. That's big news coming out of Bilderberg this evening. Now, there has, of course, been a media blackout on the Bilderberg meetings for many, many years. Remember when Alex Jones first started talking about it, he was called a conspiracy theorist, that there's no such thing as Bilderberg, we were told. Well, now the media has to reluctantly admit that Bilderberg does exist, but they still don't want to talk about it. But that censorship, that blackout, has now been broken by the Washington Times, which has broken the silence on the media blackout of Bilderberg in a story that they have posted. And Paul Joseph Watson has covered that announcement in a story on Infowars.com that says it's all part of, he quotes the Times saying it's all part of an unprecedented security crackdown now enforced to protect global financiers, banking heads, media and technology moguls, as well as elected officials from the very public whose lives are affected by their decisions. Of course, that quote refers to why there is a media blackout on the Bilderberg meetings. But Alex Jones then has a quote, "This year, it's the biggest ever." Yeah, Bilderberg is not only bigger, but there's more public scrutiny on the meeting thanks to the efforts of Alex Jones and all the InfoWars crew and all the protesters who are showing up, perhaps as many as 1,000 or more showing up there on site to ask questions about this. The article by Paul Watson goes on to state, expect the Post, that is the Washington Post, to only report on the conference once it is wrapped up. Bilderberg relies on big media to ignore their meetings so as not to draw more press attention while the summit is in progress. Isn't that convenient? Yes. It's like having a sign after you hit a speed bump on the road. you just hit a speed bump. Not that helpful after the fact, is it? In any case, Washington Times deserves some kudos for being willing to cover this story. Now, more on Bilderberg. We have the political party Wild Rose leader Danielle Smith attacks the premier's attendance at the Bilderberg conference. Now, this is news out of Edmonton. Wild Rose leader Danielle Smith attacked Premier Alison Redford on Wednesday for attending the elite Bilderberg conference. This is great to hear because it means that people in various countries who now see their so-called leaders attending this meeting are starting to question whose agenda are they serving? Whose interests do they serve? It's very clear that the Bilderberg conference is not about serving the interests of the people. Otherwise, the meetings would be, well, public. They would have full transparency, wouldn't they? They would invite the Washington Post and the New York Times and the LA Times. And hey, why not invite InfoWars while you're at it, the #1 alternative media source in the world? Shouldn't they have a seat at the event and be able to listen to the meetings? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, guys? If Alex actually got to record the meetings and play those, that would be interesting. So Smith, in continuing with this story, Smith said Albertans shouldn't have to foot the $19,000 bill to attend the conference of power brokers because the meeting is closed to the media. That the meeting also will pass no resolutions, and Redford won't be able to say what happened and what she accomplished. Amazing. Redford defended the trip, of course, saying that Smith is trying to make political hay out of, quote, routine business. Oh, it's just routine that we go have secret meetings and decide on how to divvy up the world's resources and control and dominate everything, acting as a global government corporate-run mafia. Yeah, that's just routine. See.
For more than 6 years, I've talked on the air about creating a social network. PlanetInfoWars.com is in its beta phase. We're just launching it, and I want to invite all of you out there to be in on the ground level. Planet InfoWars is about people coming together, forming activist organizations, getting involved politically, hunting and fishing, gardening, dating. This is a place for people who love freedom to meet and to talk and to write and to post information. And I give you this pledge. We are not going to spy on you and sell your data to the New World Order. PlanetInfoWars.com is free, so people who love freedom can get together, connect with people who are awake and know what we're facing. Be active, organize, take action, go viral, create, contribute, resist, because resistance is victory. You are victory. It's waiting for you to breathe power into it. PlanetInfoWars.com.